Mickey, wow, lots of news going on. Wow. Tell us what's the feeling like around Carrington? Because there is a lot going on, isn't there, outside of just football?
Well, there is, and there's always this speculation of what's going to be happening with Cristiano Ronaldo next, and I think we all know what's going to be happening now, Laura. I mean, the writing's been on the wall, hasn't it? There was no coming back for him. After the interview with Piers Morgan, I think you can just listen to those Manchester United supporters there. They're obviously disappointed, but I think it's probably the best for club and player. And all this speculation and this interest now of the Glazers wanting to sell up after 17 years. You would think that Manchester United would have been more of a sellable asset with Ronaldo there, but it was just bizarre that the news came out from both sides within the space of 24 hours. It was really strange.
Is there something in that?
I'm not too sure.
The timing of it.
I'm not too sure about that. Because you would think if Manchester United were going to sell the club and the Glazers, maybe looking at interest from outside, I think if they're going to sell, they are going to sell. And I think Crookie's figure of around £6 to £8 billion is probably right. When you're thinking about one of the most successful clubs in world football and one of the biggest clubs in the world, you would think that's probably the figure that it's going to be. But, with Ronaldo, and you talk about shirt sales, having him at the football club, you would think that any outsider coming in to buy it would have been more interesting to buy Manchester United with him being a part of it. But there was just no way it could happen with that interview from Cristiano.
Mickey, do you think Manchester United, for instance, they get brought by a Qatari owner, Liverpool get brought by a Saudi Arabian owner, do you think the Premier League will become less competitive? Because Man City will be up there, but Manchester United, Liverpool, Newcastle will start bridging that gap, won't they? And then what will that mean for the other clubs? Look at Everton. They've been told they're not going to be able to spend any money in January. How are they going to compete?
I just said you're right, Gabby. I think you're right to bring that up. I think it's going to be interesting moving forward. Look, we're not talking about business owners buying football clubs anymore. We're talking about countries. That's where we're at the minute. It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, Manchester United can go out and pretty much buy anybody they want anyway. So you think a huge business that's obviously going to come in and buy Manchester United is just going to make them that much stronger. Look, they've been in the mire for the last 8 to 9 years. They've obviously looked for investment. They've never been happy with the Glazers in charge of Manchester United for the 17 years that they've been there. So everybody is going to be interested in buying Manchester United. We've seen what's happened at Newcastle. They're going to be a force moving forward. They're only going to get stronger. I think you mentioned Liverpool there as well. It's going to be the exact same for them. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen moving forward. I mean, is there going to be a cap on what these clubs can go out and spend in the transfer windows, in the June one and obviously in January? And Manchester United are going to be rubbing their hands together. I mean, they're going to be excited, obviously, because if there is going to be a change, it's going to be at the top. And it's going to be very, very difficult for the other sides around them to compete with them. And as you mentioned there before, the mid-table sides, the lower sides in the Premier League, the gap is going to get bigger and bigger, and that's something that we don't really want to see.
Mickey, do you think that in terms of what's happening with Cristiano Ronaldo leaving, do you think that if he knew that the club was going to be up for sale, he might feel a bit different about it?
Well, possibly, Laura, but I think, in his interview, he talked about Manchester United, the stadium itself being similar to what it was when he was last at the club, the training ground, and things haven't moved forward. Now, for those things to happen, Laura, they're not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a year. And if you're talking about the stadium, you're probably talking about 2 to 3 years if they're going to move the stadium, if that's something that the club want to do in the next couple of seasons. Well, you have to take Ronaldo's age into consideration there. When all of that's finished, he is probably going to be finished his career. If he goes on till he's 40, he wouldn't be at Manchester United in the first place. I just think that he was frustrated, Laura, at the beginning of the season. I think he's been frustrated of not being in the starting 11 every single week, obviously not scoring goals every single week. And I just think he's never really looked happy this season. Certainly when he's played the games, when I've seen him at Old Trafford, his body language hasn't been what it has been in the past. And he wants to finish at the top. There's been all of this talk about him, wanting to continue in Champions League football, continue the goals that he's got, just breaking all of these records, which he's already done. Now, I don't know what his next move is actually going to be when he obviously does leave this World Cup and You know, the talk's going to start. Is it going to be in Saudi Arabia? Is it going to be in America? Is it going to be in China? Or is it going to be somewhere else? I mean, Sporting Lisbon got another mention as well. So, no, I don't think that was in his thoughts, to be honest with you.